Cynthia's desperate kiss lasted 5 seconds and destroyed everything. She'd grabbed the coldest, most dangerous-looking man in Club Azure to make her ex jealous. What she didn't know was that Kang Jihoon didn't get kissed by random women. He got obeyed by crime lords. Now the Choi family was hunting her, bullets were shattering penthouse windows, and the man who promised to protect her was bleeding out 3 floors above, while she descended into hell in an elevator with the enemy's gun at her head. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. The gun currently pressed against her temple. That comes later. First, let's rewind to 12 hours earlier, when the worst thing Cynthia thought she'd face that night was running into her ex-boyfriend at a club in Gangnam. Spoiler alert, she was catastrophically wrong. Make sure you're subscribed because this story doesn't slow down and you're going to want to see every twist coming. The bass thundered through Club Azure's VIP section, vibrating through Cynthia's ribs as she clutched her second Cosmopolitan like a lifeline. Around her, Seoul's elite played at being normal people, as if designer suits costing more than her yearly stipend made them relatable. "You need to stop staring at your phone," Mira shouted over the music, her Korean-American best friend already 3 drinks ahead and dangerously close to dancing on the table. "It's my birthday. Charles is not ruining this." Cynthia forced a smile, sliding her phone face down on the glossy black table. "I'm not," her phone buzzed. Both women looked at it. "Don't," Mira warned. Cynthia flipped it over. "Unknown number. He's here. Club Azure, 3rd floor. Thought you should know." Jay, the Cosmopolitan, turned to acid in her stomach. Jay Jessica, Charles's new girlfriend, who apparently had enough pity, or cruelty, to send a warning shot. "That bastard," Mira hissed, reading over her shoulder. "On my birthday, at my party." She started to stand, but Cynthia grabbed her wrist. "Don't, please, I need a minute." What Cynthia needed was to disappear, to melt into the crowd, or better yet, to have never come out tonight at all. 3 months since she'd walked into Charles's apartment early and found him with his teaching assistant. And still, the humiliation felt fresh. Still, the thought of his smug face made her want to curl into herself and vanish. She scanned the club, searching for exits, for anywhere to hide. That's when she saw him. Across the VIP section, separated by a velvet rope and what looked like 3 security guards, sat a man who made everyone else in the room look like background extras. Korean, maybe 30, in a black suit that probably cost more than her thesis research budget. But it wasn't the money that caught her attention. It was the cold. Even from 20 feet away, Cynthia could feel it radiating off him. The way people orbited around his table but never got too close. The way his companions, 3 men built like professional fighters, spoke to him with eyes lowered. The way he held his whiskey glass, still and controlled, while everyone else in the club moved with the frenetic energy of people trying too hard to have fun. He looked like a man who'd never tried hard at anything in his life, who'd never needed to. "Earth to Cynthia," Mira waved a hand in front of her face. "You're staring at Kang Jihoon like a deer in headlights." Bad idea. "That's Cynthia." Every muscle in her body locked. She knew that voice, had spent 6 months learning to love it, then 12 months trying to forget it. She turned slowly. Charles stood 3 feet away, one arm around Jessica's waist, his smile that particular blend of concerned and condescending that used to make her second-guess her own reality. He'd cut his hair shorter, lost weight, looked objectively better than he had when they were together. She hated him for it. "Wow, I didn't know you came to places like this," Charles said, his eyes scanning her outfit. A simple black dress that suddenly felt too tight and too cheap simultaneously. "Jessica, this is Cynthia, my ex I told you about. The researcher." That's what he'd called her when he wanted to be dismissive, like studying cultural integration patterns between African diaspora and Korean communities was somehow less real than his finance job. "Hi," Jessica said, and damn her, she actually seemed nice, sympathetic even, which somehow made it worse. Cynthia's throat closed, words piled up behind her teeth, cutting. Sharp words she'd practiced in her mirror for months, but nothing came out. She was 27 years old, had a master's degree, spoke 3 languages, and in this moment, she couldn't manage a single syllable. Charles's smile widened. He smelled victory. "We should grab coffee sometime," he continued, his tone dripping with false generosity. "Catch up properly. Jessica and I are actually getting pretty serious, so—" Something snapped inside Cynthia's chest. Not a break, a clean, sharp cut that severed the part of her that cared what Charles thought from the part of her that remembered how to breathe. She stood. Mira's hand caught her arm. "Cynthia, what are you?" But she shook it off. The cold man, the dangerous one who sat alone despite being surrounded, the one whose presence made the air itself feel heavier. She walked toward him before logic could catch up with instinct. His security moved to intercept, but the man raised one finger. Just one. They stopped. Up close, he was even more devastating. Sharp jawline, eyes so dark they looked black in the club lighting, and an expression of mild curiosity that somehow felt more threatening than anger. Cynthia's heart hammered against her ribs. Behind her, she could feel Charles watching, could imagine his confusion, his inevitable attempt to follow, to make a scene, to humiliate her one more time. Not tonight. She leaned down, close enough to smell expensive cologne and something else. Danger, maybe, or just the scent of a man who'd never been told no in his entire life. "Kiss me," Cynthia whispered, her voice steadier than she felt. "Please, just once. I'll explain later. I promise." For 3 seconds, nothing happened. The man's eyes, she could see now they were actually a very dark brown, not black, studied her with an intensity that made her skin prickle. His companions had gone completely still, hands moving subtly toward concealed weapons. She suddenly realized they were definitely carrying. Then he smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "Do you know who I am?" he asked, his voice low and smooth, with the barest hint of an accent that suggested English wasn't his first language, but he'd long since mastered it. "Should I?" His smile widened. "Probably." Then he reached up, wrapped one hand around the back of her neck, his palm warm against her skin, his grip firm enough to send a clear message, "I'm in control here," and pulled her down. The kiss was nothing like she'd expected. If you're already hooked, hit that subscribe button, because what happens next will make you scream. Trust me. Charles had been adequate, predictable, the kind of kisses that were nice enough but forgettable. This was not that. This was a claiming. His mouth moved against hers with absolute certainty, one hand still gripping the back of her neck, while the other settled possessively on her hip, pulling her closer. Not asking. Taking. The kind of kiss that made her forget they were in a crowded club. Forget that 30 seconds ago she hadn't known his name. Forget everything except the heat pooling in her stomach and the dangerous thrill racing down her spine. When he finally pulled back, Cynthia's breath came in short gasps. His expression remained infuriatingly composed, though something flickered in those dark eyes. Amusement, maybe, or calculation. "There," he said, his thumb brushing once against her jaw before his hand dropped away. Was that convincing enough? Cynthia's brain struggled to restart. Behind her, she heard Jessica's shocked gasp, heard Charles sputter something that might have been her name, but the man in front of her, Kang Jihoon, Mira had called him, simply watched her with that same unreadable expression. Cynthia started. Cynthia! Charles's hand clamped on her shoulder, spinning her around. His face had gone red, that vein in his forehead pulsing the way it used to when his stock picks went bad. What the hell do you think you're doing? Charles, maybe we should... Jessica began, tugging at his sleeve with a nervousness that suggested she understood something Cynthia was still missing. No. Charles shook her off, his eyes locked on Cynthia. I want an answer. You disappear for 3 months, won't return my calls, and now you're what? Throwing yourself at random men to make me jealous? The old Cynthia would have shrunk, would have apologised, explained, made herself smaller to ease his anger. But the taste of expensive whiskey and danger still lingered on her lips, and Cynthia found she didn't particularly feel like being old Cynthia anymore. Random? The word came from behind her, and Cynthia felt the temperature drop 5 degrees. Kang Jihoon had stood, and standing he was taller than she'd realised, at least 6 feet, with a presence that made Charles's bluster look like a child's tantrum. I'm disappointed. I thought my reputation preceded me. Charles's face went from red to white in the span of a heartbeat. Mr. Kang, he stammered. And Cynthia watched in fascination as her ex-boyfriend, the man who'd once made her question her own worth, literally took a step backward. I wasn't... You weren't what? Jihoon moved closer, his movements liquid and controlled. One of his companions materialised at his shoulder, a man with silver-streaked hair and eyes like a hawk. You weren't disrespecting my girlfriend, because from where I'm standing, that's exactly what it looked like. Girlfriend. The word hung in the air like a hand grenade with the pin pulled. Cynthia's pulse thundered in her ears. This was spinning out of control. She'd wanted to avoid embarrassment, not whatever this was becoming. I apologise, Charles managed, his voice strangled. He grabbed Jessica's hand. She looked ready to bolt and started backing away. We'll go. Sorry to have bothered you, Charles. Jihoon's voice stopped him mid-retreat. A word of advice, since you seem to need it. When a woman moves on, particularly to someone like me, the intelligent response is to stay very, very far away. Do we understand each other? It wasn't a question. Charles nodded frantically and practically dragged Jessica towards the stairs. Cynthia watched them disappear into the crowd, a part of her brain noting with vicious satisfaction that Charles had stumbled twice in his haste to escape. Then reality crashed back. She turned to find Jihoon watching her, his head tilted slightly, as if she were a puzzle he was considering how to solve. His 3 companions had formed a loose semicircle, blocking them from the rest of the VIP section, blocking her in. So, Jihoon said conversationally, picking up his whiskey glass and taking a slow sip. Are you going to explain, or should I have my men escort you somewhere more private for this conversation? The words were polite. The threat underneath them was crystal clear. Drop a comment if you saw this coming, or if you're screaming at Cynthia to run. Either way, you need to keep watching. Cynthia's mouth went dry. I can explain. I certainly hope so. He gestured to the seat across from him. Sit. It wasn't a request. She sat, awareness prickling across her skin as she noticed details she'd missed in her panicked state. The way other VIP guests gave this section a wide berth, the subtle bulges under the suits of Jihoon's companions that suggested firearms, the deference in the staff's eyes when they glanced this way, not respect, but fear. What had Mira been trying to tell her? My name is Cynthia, she started, because it seemed important to establish that much at least. Cynthia Okafor. I'm a graduate student at Seoul National University studying cultural integration patterns. That man, Charles, is my ex-boyfriend. Is my ex. We broke up 3 months ago, and I didn't want to deal with him tonight. So you decided to kiss a stranger. Jihoon set down his glass with precise care. Interesting strategy. It was stupid, Cynthia admitted, her hands twisting in her lap. I panicked. I wasn't thinking clearly, and you were just there. I'm sorry. I'll leave, and you'll never see me again. And Mr. Han. Jihoon's gaze never left Cynthia's face as he addressed the silver-haired man. Run her identification, full background check. I want to know if she's telling the truth. Ice flooded Cynthia's veins. What? No, you can't just... I can. 2 words, delivered with absolute certainty. You approached me uninvited. You initiated physical contact. In my world, that's either breathtaking stupidity or calculated risk. I need to know which. Your world. Cynthia's voice pitched higher. What does that even... Who are you? She cut herself off, really looking at him for the first time, at the way he held himself like violence was something he wore comfortably, at the cold intelligence in his eyes, at the fact that Charles, who negotiated million-dollar deals and never backed down from confrontation, had fled like Jihoon was death itself. Oh God, you really don't know. Jihoon leaned back, and for the first time, genuine amusement crossed his features. How refreshingly unexpected. Mr. Han returned, holding Cynthia's purse. When had they taken her purse? And extracted her wallet with efficient precision. He studied her ID, then nodded to Jihoon. She's exactly who she claims. Nigerian passport, valid student visa, enrolled at SNU, no criminal record, no known associations with any rival organizations. Rival organizations. The pieces clicked together with sickening clarity. Oh my God, Cynthia whispered. You're Kang Jihoon. He said it like she should have known, like everyone should know. I run several legitimate businesses in Seoul, hotels, real estate, import, export. I also run several less legitimate operations. I believe Americans call it organized crime, though I find that term reductive. The club spun. Cynthia gripped the edge of the table. Breathe, Jihoon said, almost kindly. You're not in danger. Yet. Yet? That depends entirely on what happens in the next 5 minutes. He leaned forward, elbows on the table, his face suddenly very close to hers. You see, Cynthia Okafor, you've created a significant problem. Every person in this club just watched you kiss me, intimately. In my world, that declaration has meaning. It tells people you're under my protection. It tells rival organizations that touching you means war with the Kang family. Cynthia's heart slammed against her ribs. I didn't know. Obviously. He almost smiled, which is the only reason we're having this conversation instead of a very different kind of interaction. But ignorance doesn't change facts. As of 10 minutes ago, you became mine in the eyes of everyone who matters in Seoul's underworld. That's insane. That's reality. He sat back again, studying her with unsettling focus. So here's your problem, and consequently, mine. I can't simply let you walk away. It would make me look weak, like any random woman can claim my protection without consequence. Weakness in my position is fatal. The walls of the VIP section seemed to close in. Cynthia's research had covered Korean organized crime in abstract terms, statistics, sociological patterns, historical context. Nowhere in her thesis had there been a section on what to do when you accidentally kiss a mafia boss to escape your ex-boyfriend. So, what happens now? Her voice came out steadier than she felt. You can't let me leave, but you can't... What? Keep me here forever? Jihoon's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. I like that you're thinking logically despite the fear. That's useful. He glanced at Mr. Han, who produced a tablet and tapped something on the screen. I have a proposal. A proposal! Cynthia heard the hysteria creeping into her voice and swallowed it down. Like a business proposal? For the woman you just told is now accidentally marked as your property. I said under my protection. The distinction matters. Jihoon accepted the tablet from Mr. Han, studied it briefly, then turned it to face her. On the screen was a photo of a woman, Korean, elegant, wearing a wedding hanbok. This is Choi Yoona, daughter of the Choi family, one of the 3 major organizations in Seoul. For the past 2 years, our families have been negotiating a marriage alliance. Cynthia stared at the photo, then at Jihoon. You're engaged? Not yet, but the pressure is considerable. Something flickered across his face. Frustration, maybe, or weariness. My mother calls weekly. My brother reminds me daily that this alliance would secure our northern territories. The Choi family grows impatient. I don't understand what this has to do with... You just gave me leverage. Jihoon leaned forward, his intensity pinning her in place. A reason to delay. If I'm publicly involved with someone else, someone completely unexpected, someone who couldn't possibly be a plant from a rival family, I buy myself time. The implication hit her like cold water. You want me to pretend to be your girlfriend for 3 months, maybe 4, depending on how negotiations progress. That's insane, Cynthia repeated, because apparently that was the only response her brain could generate. I'm a graduate student. I have research. I have a life that doesn't involve... She gestured vaguely at the guards, the guns she could now see clearly outlined under their jackets. Whatever this is. You also have an ex-boyfriend who looked ready to make your life miserable. Jihoon's tone shifted, became almost gentle. Tell me, Cynthia, how long has he been harassing you? She flinched. I don't... Mr. Han spent the last 10 minutes doing more than checking your ID. Charles Morrison, finance analyst at Young Capital, sent you 47 text messages in the past week alone. Showed up at your university library twice. Filed a complaint with your department head claiming you stole his research. Jihoon paused. Shall I continue? Heat flooded Cynthia's face. She'd thought she was being paranoid. Thought maybe she was overreacting to what Charles called trying to stay friends. How did you... I'm very good at acquiring information quickly. Jihoon's expression remained neutral, but his eyes held something that might have been understanding. Men like him don't stop until they're made to stop. You embarrassed him tonight in front of his new girlfriend. He'll escalate. The truth of it settled in her stomach like lead. She'd seen that look on Charles's face right before Jihoon intervened, that particular blend of humiliation and rage that used to precede his worst behaviour. So, you're saying I need your protection anyway, Cynthia said slowly. I'm saying we can help each other. Jihoon gestured for Mr. Han, who produced a business card. Heavy stock, minimalist design, just a phone number embossed in silver. You play the role of my girlfriend in public. Attend events with me. Be seen at my side. In exchange, Charles never bothers you again. You receive a generous stipend, let's say $50,000 for your trouble, and when we part ways, you do so with a glowing recommendation letter from the Kang Foundation, your research on cultural integration. Consider it fully funded. Cynthia's hands trembled as she took the card. $50,000. Her entire stipend for a year was barely $30,000, and the Kang Foundation, she'd seen their name on buildings across Seoul, on scholarship programs, on cultural centres. This is crazy, she whispered, but the word had lost its conviction. It's practical. Jihoon stood, buttoning his suit jacket with casual precision. You have 24 hours to decide. Mr. Han will provide you with a secure phone number. When you're ready to discuss terms, Wait. The word escaped before Cynthia could stop it. You're just letting me leave to think about it. Did you expect something else? Cynthia stood, her legs unsteady. You said you couldn't let me walk away, that it would make you look weak. I said I couldn't simply let you walk away. There's a difference. Jihoon moved closer, and Cynthia fought the urge to step back. Up close, she could see the faint scar on his jawline, the way his pupils dilated slightly as he studied her. If you walk out of here after rejecting my offer, that tells a story, that you approached me, I found you wanting, and I dismissed you. No loss of face for me. But if I say yes, then you walk out of here with my jacket over your shoulders and my driver taking you home. Every camera in this club will catch it. Every person here will know you're under the protection of the Kang family. He tilted his head, studying her. The question is, Cynthia Okafor, which story do you want told? Before she could answer, Mr. Han's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, and his expression hardened. Sir, he said quietly, leaning close to Jihoon's ear. We have a situation. The Choi family knows about the kiss. They're already asking questions. Jihoon's jaw tightened fractionally, the first real crack in his composure. How fast? Too fast. Someone in the club is on their payroll. Smash that like button if your heart is racing right now, because Cynthia's night just went from bad to absolutely deadly. The temperature in the VIP section seemed to drop 10 degrees. Jihoon's hand moved to Cynthia's lower back, proprietary, protective, and she found herself pulled against his side before she could process the movement. Change of plans, he said, his voice calm despite the tension radiating from his body. You're not walking out of here alone. It's too dangerous now. Dangerous, Cynthia's voice pitched up. What do you mean dangerous? You said I wasn't in danger. That was before the Choi family found out about you. Jihoon guided her toward a back exit she hadn't noticed, his men forming a protective formation around them. They'll want to know who you are, what you mean to me, whether you're a threat to their alliance plans. If they think you're nobody, just a random woman I kissed for fun, they might decide to make an example of you. The club's bass still thundered. People still danced and laughed, completely unaware that Cynthia's entire world had just tilted sideways. An example, she repeated numbly, to show me that I can't simply dismiss their daughter's claim on me without consequences. They reached a service door and Mr. Han moved ahead, speaking rapidly into his phone in Korean. Don't look so terrified. You're with me. Nothing will happen to you. Nothing will happen because I'm under your protection, which I didn't ask for, because of a kiss I initiated to avoid my ex-boyfriend. Hysteria bubbled up in Cynthia's throat. This is insane. This whole night is insane. Jihoon stopped, turning to face her fully. His hands settled on her shoulders, and the weight of his gaze forced her to meet his eyes. Breathe, he commanded. You're in shock, which is understandable, but I need you to focus. In approximately 30 seconds, we're going to walk through that door to a private garage. My car will be waiting. You will get in the car, and I will take you somewhere safe while my people assess the situation. I should call the police. His expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Amusement, maybe, or pity. And tell them what? That you kissed a businessman and now you feel threatened? The police won't help you, Cynthia. Half of them are on various family payrolls, and the other half know better than to get involved in matters like this. Matters like what? Like the fact that someone just photographed us together and sent it to the Choi family within 5 minutes. Like the fact that there are probably already people in this club deciding whether you're an asset or a liability. His thumbs brushed once against her shoulders, almost gentle. like the fact that Charles chose tonight to show up at the same club as me. What are the odds of that? Cynthia's blood went cold. You think... I don't think anything yet, but I find coincidences suspicious. Jihoon's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his expression hardened. We need to move. Now. The service door opened, revealing a concrete corridor and the distant sound of car engines. Mr. Hen gestured urgently. Cynthia looked back at the club, at the lights, the music, the normal world where the worst thing she'd face tonight was her ex-boyfriend's smugness. Then she looked at Jihoon, at the cold certainty in his eyes, at the gun she could now clearly see holstered under Mr. Han's jacket. 24 hours to decide, he'd said. She had a feeling she'd just run out of time. If I get in that car, Cynthia said quietly, am I ever getting out? Jihoon's smile was knife-sharp and utterly humourless. That, Miss Okafor, depends entirely on how much you value your life. Then his hand closed around hers, and he pulled her through the door into the unknown. The garage smelled like expensive leather and gasoline. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting harsh shadows across rows of luxury vehicles that probably cost more than Cynthia's entire education. Jihoon's grip on her hand remained firm but not painful as he guided her toward a black Mercedes sedan that looked like it could survive a missile strike. Get in, he said, opening the back door. Cynthia hesitated, her researcher's brain cataloguing exits, security cameras, potential witnesses. This was the moment. Once she got in that car, everything changed. She could still run, could still scream, could still... Tires squealed from the entrance ramp. 2 black SUVs burst into the garage, moving too fast, too aggressive. Mr. Han shoved Jihoon aside and drew his weapon in one fluid motion. The other guards materialized around them, creating a human shield. In the car now, Jihoon commanded, and this time there was no gentleness, no room for debate. Cynthia dove into the back seat. Jihoon slid in beside her, and before her door even closed, the Mercedes was moving. The driver, a woman with short hair and cold eyes, didn't bother with reverse. She threw the car into drive and accelerated directly toward the SUVs in a game of chicken that made Cynthia's stomach lurch. Seatbelt, Jihoon said calmly, fastening his own. Are you insane? Cynthia fumbled with the belt, her hands shaking. She's driving straight at them. Minji knows what she's doing. The SUVs swerved at the last second. Minji didn't. She clipped the rear of one vehicle, sending it spinning, and punched through the gap they'd created. The garage exit ramp appeared ahead. A sharp right turn designed for cautious 5-mile-per-hour descents. Minji took it at 40. Cynthia slammed against her seatbelt as the Mercedes drifted through the turn, tires screaming. Behind them, the SUVs recovered and gave chase. Through the rear window, she saw muzzle flashes. They're shooting at us! Her voice pitched into a register she didn't recognize as her own. Bulletproof glass. Jihoon was typing rapidly on his phone, completely unconcerned by the bullets pinging off the rear windshield. Reinforced frame. You're safer in this car than you would be in most buildings. That's not the reassurance you think it is. They burst onto the street, Minji weaving through late-night traffic with precision that suggested she'd done this before, many times before. The SUVs followed, one managing to pull alongside. Jihoon finally looked up from his phone. He met Cynthia's terrified gaze, and something in his expression softened fractionally. I apologize, he said. This isn't how I intended your evening to end. How did you intend it to end? With you safely in a taxi, thinking about my offer. He glanced out the window as Minji took a hard left, cutting through an alley so narrow Cynthia could have reached out and touched the buildings. Unfortunately, the Choi family moves faster than I anticipated. They must be more concerned about the alliance than I realized. The SUV that had been alongside them couldn't make the turn. Cynthia heard the crunch of metal on brick. Then they were through the alley and onto a wider street, one she recognised. "This is near Itaewon," she said, grabbing onto anything familiar like a lifeline. "My apartment is 15 minutes from here." "We're not going to your apartment." Jihoon pocketed his phone. "They'll have people there within the hour, if they don't already." "My apartment," Cynthia repeated slowly. "They know where I live. They know everything by now. Your name, your address, your university schedule, probably your favourite coffee shop." He said it matter-of-factly, like this was completely normal. "The Choi family has extensive resources. Once they identified you from the club photos, they would have pulled everything." The remaining SUV appeared behind them, closer now. Minji cursed in Korean and accelerated, blowing through a red light. Horns blared. A taxi swerved, nearly clipping a pedestrian. Cynthia pressed her hands against her face. "This is a nightmare. This can't be real." "Look at me." Jihoon's hand caught her chin, gentle but firm, turning her face toward his. "Cynthia, look at me." She did. His eyes were still that same dark brown, still cold, but something else lurked beneath the ice. Concern, maybe, or calculation. With him, it was hard to tell the difference. "You're going to be fine," he said. "I've been in situations far worse than this. These are scare tactics. They're trying to assess whether you're important enough to me to risk conflict over. Once they realise you are, they'll back off." "But I'm not important to you. We just met." "They don't know that." His thumb brushed her jawline once before dropping away. "And after tonight, after I risk my men and resources to protect you, they'll believe you are. Which means you need to actually be under my protection, or the next time they come for you, I won't be there to stop them." Comment: Cynthia run if you think she should bail, or Team Jihoon if you're already shipping this insanity. We're reading every single one. Minji took another sharp turn, and suddenly they were descending into an underground parking structure, not a public one, private, with security gates that opened before they approached and closed immediately behind them. The SUV pursuing them screeched to a halt outside the closing gate. They'd lost them. The Mercedes came to a smooth stop in a designated space marked with a simple K. Minji killed the engine and twisted in her seat, speaking rapid Korean to Jihoon. He responded in kind, his tone clipped and authoritative. Cynthia caught maybe one word in 5. Her Korean was decent for academic purposes, but not nearly good enough to follow whatever tactical discussion was happening. Finally, Jihoon turned back to her. "We're at one of my properties, secure location, 24-hour surveillance, guards on every floor. You'll stay here tonight. I need to call someone. Mira. God, Mira's probably losing her mind. Your friend left the club safely 10 minutes ago. Mr. Han confirmed it." Jihoon opened his door, then paused. "Your phone? Do you have it?" Cynthia checked her purse, which somehow she'd managed to keep hold of during the chaos. "Yes, give it to me." "Excuse me." "They can track it. Location services, apps, even when it's off. There are ways." He held out his hand, waiting. "You'll get a secure phone. For now, I need yours." This was it, the moment where she either trusted him completely or tried to fight her way out. Cynthia looked at his outstretched hand, at the calm certainty in his expression, at Minji watching in the rearview mirror with professional detachment. She thought about Charles, about the relief she'd felt when Jihoon had made him flee, about the photos some stranger had taken and sent to a crime family within minutes, about the bullets that had pinged off bulletproof glass protecting her, about the fact that she'd walked into Club Azure 4 hours ago thinking the worst that could happen was social embarrassment. Cynthia placed her phone in Jihoon's palm, his fingers closed around it, and around hers for just a moment. "Thank you for trusting me." "I don't trust you," she said honestly, "but I don't have a lot of options right now." That almost smile played at his lips again. "Honest. I appreciate that." He released her hand and pocketed the phone. "Come, let's get you somewhere more comfortable than a car that's been shot at." The elevator was all mirrors and polished steel. Cynthia caught her reflection, wild eyes, smudged makeup, hair escaping from its careful styling. She looked like someone who'd just been in a car chase because she had been in a car chase. "What floor?" she asked numbly, watching the numbers climb. "Top." Of course, men like Kang Jihoon didn't live on floor 6 with normal people. The penthouse doors opened directly into the apartment. No hallway, no neighbours, just straight into a space that looked like it had been photographed for an architecture magazine. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Seoul's glittering skyline. Minimalist furniture in blacks and greys, art on the walls that was probably worth more than her student loans, and weapons. Now that she was looking for them, Cynthia could see them everywhere. The slight bulge in the decorative cabinet, the way certain pieces of furniture were positioned to provide cover, the security panel by the door far more complex than any home system she'd ever seen. "Welcome to my home," Jihoon said, shrugging off his jacket. Without it, in just his white dress shirt and dark slacks, he looked younger, still dangerous, but human, tired even. "You'll have the guest suite. It has its own bathroom, balcony access if you need air, though I'd prefer you not go out there tonight." "Because people might shoot at me." "Because people might shoot at you," he agreed. "Can I get you something? Water, tea, something stronger?" Cynthia walked to the windows on legs that felt disconnected from her body. Below, Seoul sprawled in neon and shadow. Millions of people living normal lives, going to work, meeting friends, dealing with regular problems like traffic and deadlines and ex-boyfriends who were merely annoying instead of potentially deadly. "Why me?" she asked quietly. "In that club, I'm sure dozens of women would have said yes if you'd asked. Women who actually know your world, who wouldn't have panicked and kissed you in the first place. Why offer this deal to someone who's clearly in over her head?" She heard him move closer, felt his presence at her back. "Because you're in over your head," Jihoon said. "Because you had no idea who I was, which means you have no agenda. Because when you kissed me, you were genuinely desperate, not calculating, and because..." He paused, and when she glanced back, his expression had shifted into something she couldn't read. "Because when I told you to get in the car or die, you got in the car. You're smart enough to recognize reality, even when you don't like it. That's not exactly a compliment. In my world, it's the highest one I can give." Cynthia turned fully to face him, crossing her arms. "So what happens now? I stay here tonight, and then what? I go back to my life, pretend none of this happened. You stay here until it's safe, which could be a few days." Jihoon moved to a bar cart, poured 2 glasses of whiskey without asking if she wanted one. "Then we discuss the arrangement properly. Terms, boundaries, expectations, and if I say no." He handed her a glass, and their fingers brushed. "Then I ensure you have protection until the Choi family loses interest, which could take weeks or months. But you don't get the money, the recommendation letter, or the guarantee that Charles stays away permanently." The whiskey burned going down, but Cynthia welcomed it. Something to focus on besides the surreal nightmare her life had become. "You already killed Charles, didn't you?" The words came out flat. "That's what you meant when you said you handled my problem." Jihoon's expression didn't change. "Charles is alive and currently being held in a safe location, where he's being strongly encouraged to leave Seoul. Permanently. I find that killing people creates more problems than it solves, Miss Okafor. I'm a businessman, not a psychopath." "You run a criminal organisation." "I run several businesses, some of which operate in grey areas." He took a sip of his own drink. There's a difference between managing profitable enterprises that happen to be illegal and murdering people for sport. I have rules, lines I don't cross. How reassuring, Cynthia said dryly, then immediately regretted her tone. This man held her life in his hands, and she was being sarcastic. But instead of anger, Jihoon laughed. A real laugh, brief and genuine. You have fire. Good. You'll need it. Before Cynthia could respond, the elevator chimed. She flinched, but Jihoon merely glanced at his watch. That will be Mr. Han with your things. My things? Clothes, toiletries, your laptop. I had people collect them from your apartment. He said it casually, like he hadn't just admitted to breaking into her home. Don't worry, they were very discreet. Your landlord didn't even notice. Cynthia's hand tightened around her glass. You went through my apartment. I had professionals retrieve necessary items for an extended stay. There's a difference. Jihoon set down his drink. You can inventory everything when Mr. Han arrives. If anything is missing or damaged, I'll replace it. Mr. Han emerged from the elevator carrying 2 suitcases and what looked like Cynthia's research materials in a leather bag. He bowed slightly to Jihoon, spoke in rapid Korean, and Jihoon's expression darkened. What? Cynthia demanded. What did he say? Jihoon was silent for a moment. Then, your apartment was visited by the Choi family 15 minutes before my people arrived. They left surveillance devices. The whiskey threatened to come back up. They were in my apartment, and now they know we got there first, which will frustrate them. Jihoon's tone suggested this was somehow a victory. Mr. Han, show Miss Okafor to the guest suite. Make sure she has everything she needs. Wait! Cynthia started, but Jihoon was already walking toward what looked like a home office, his phone to his ear, speaking in Korean, too rapid for her to follow. Mr. Han gestured politely toward a hallway. This way, Miss Okafor. The guest suite was larger than Cynthia's entire apartment. King-sized bed with hotel-quality linens, an ensuite bathroom with a soaking tub, a sitting area with a view that rivaled the main rooms. Her suitcases sat neatly on a luggage rack, her laptop bag on the desk. There are clothes in the closet as well, Mr. Han said, his English accented but perfect. In case what we brought is insufficient. Toiletries in the bathroom. If you need anything, there's an intercom by the bed. Press 1 for the kitchen, 2 for security, 3 for Mr. Kang directly. Thank you, Cynthia managed. Mr. Han paused at the door. Miss Okafor, may I offer some advice? She nodded, too exhausted to do anything else. Mr. Kang is not a man who shows concern easily. The fact that he brought you here, to his personal residence, rather than one of the many safe houses he maintains. Mr. Han's expression was unreadable. That means something. I would suggest taking his offer seriously. Then he was gone, the door clicking softly shut. Cynthia sat on the edge of the bed, and still holding her whiskey glass, and tried to process the last 4 hours. This morning, her biggest concern had been finalizing her thesis research. Tonight, she was in a Mafia boss's penthouse, hiding from a rival crime family, her entire life packed into 2 suitcases by strangers. She should call someone. But Jihoon had her phone, and she didn't know anyone's number by heart anymore. Mira was safe. He'd said Mira was safe. That would have to be enough for now. The exhaustion hit all at once. Cynthia set down the glass and fell back onto the bed, still fully dressed. The ceiling was decorated with recessed lighting that cast soft shadows. Expensive. Everything here was expensive, controlled, perfect. So why did Jihoon look so tired? So trapped. His family is forcing an arranged marriage, she remembered. He needs a fake girlfriend to buy time. She laughed, a slightly hysterical sound. Of all the ways to avoid an ex-boyfriend, she'd somehow chosen the most catastrophically complicated option possible. Her eyes drifted closed, just for a moment, just to rest. Cynthia jerked awake to shouting, male voices, angry, speaking Korean too fast for her to understand. She checked her watch. She'd been asleep for 3 hours. Dawn light crept through the windows. The shouting came from the main room. She should stay here, should lock the door and hide like a sensible person who'd stumbled into a crime drama. Instead, Cynthia found herself moving towards the door, opening it carefully, following the sound of the argument. Reckless and stupid even for you. A man's voice, not Jihoon's, younger, angrier. I don't answer to you, Minseo. Jihoon's tone was ice. Not yet. Not ever. Cynthia reached the edge of the main room and froze. Jihoon stood near the windows, still in his clothes from last night, but with his shirt untucked, his hair dishevelled. Facing him was another man, younger by a few years, similar features, but harder somehow, flanked by 4 armed men. His brother. This had to be Minseo. The Choi family is demanding a meeting, Minseo said. They want to know who she is, what she means to you, why you risked war over some random woman. She's not random. She is. You met her last night. Minseo's laugh was bitter. I had her investigated. Cynthia Okafor, graduate student, nobody important, no connections, no value. And you brought her here, to your private residence. For what? Because she's pretty? Because you were bored? Careful, brother. Jihoon's voice dropped dangerously low. You're about to say something you'll regret. The only thing I regret is not stopping you sooner. Minseo pulled out his phone, swiped through something, then turned it to show Jihoon. She's been researching Korean organised crime for her thesis, detailed notes on family structures, territorial disputes, money laundering operations. What are the odds, Jihoon? What are the odds that this innocent student just happened to kiss you? Cynthia's blood turned to ice. She didn't know who I was, Jihoon said. But his certainty had wavered. Are you sure? Because from where I'm standing, this looks like exactly what the Choi family thinks it is. A spy, seducing you to gather intelligence. Minseo's smile was cruel. Face it, brother. You got played by a pretty face and a desperate act. She's either working for our enemies or she's phenomenally stupid. Either way, she's a liability. That's not true. Cynthia's voice came out stronger than she felt. She stepped into the room, and every gun immediately pointed at her. I didn't know who he was. I was just trying to avoid my ex-boyfriend. Minseo's eyes raked over her with open contempt. The American speaks. Tell me, Miss Okafor, how long have you been working for the Choi family? I don't even know who they are. Then explain the research. Explain why a cultural anthropology student has detailed files on Seoul's criminal organizations. He advanced on her, and Jihoon moved to intercept, but Minseo's men blocked him. Explain why your thesis advisor has connections to the Choi family's legal counsel. Explain why you showed up at that specific club on that specific night when you knew Jihoon would be there. I didn't know. Cynthia's voice rose. It was my friend's birthday. It was random. Nothing is random in our world. Minseo stopped 3 feet from her, close enough that she could see the cold calculation in his eyes, so like Jihoon's, but without any warmth beneath. You're either a spy or a fool. If you're a spy, you die. If you're a fool, you're a liability, and you still die. Either way, you don't leave this building alive. He raised his gun, pointing it directly at her forehead. Jihoon moved fast, but not fast enough. Minseo's men caught him, held him back. Don't do this, Jihoon said, and for the first time since she'd met him, Cynthia heard genuine fear in his voice. Minseo, don't. I'm protecting our family. Something you seem to have forgotten how to do. Minseo's finger moved to the trigger. Goodbye, Miss Okafor. I'm sorry you got caught up in something you didn't understand. Cynthia couldn't breathe, couldn't move. This was it. She was going to die in a luxury penthouse because she'd been stupid enough to kiss a stranger. The elevator chimed. Everyone froze. The doors opened and a woman stepped out. Elegant, older, dressed in a designer suit that probably cost more than a car. Her hair was silver grey, her eyes sharp and assessing. "Put the gun down, Minseo," she said in perfect English. "Now." "Mother," Minseo started. "Now." He lowered the gun. Jihoon's men released him. The tension in the room remained thick enough to cut. The woman walked directly to Cynthia, studied her with an intensity that made her want to shrink back. Then, impossibly, she smiled. "So, you're the girl who kissed my son and started a war." She turned to Jihoon. "She's pretty. I can see why you'd risk everything." "I didn't risk," Jihoon began. "Oh, please. You brought her here. You protected her from the Choi family. You're willing to fight your own brother for her." His mother's smile widened. "You haven't done something this reckless since you were 16. I'm almost impressed." She turned back to Cynthia. "My name is Kang Jihoon. I'm supposed to be dead, which makes this conversation complicated, but we need to talk, dear. About why the Choi family really wants my son married, about what they're planning, and about why you—" She reached out and touched Cynthia's cheek gently. "Might be the only person who can stop them." Cynthia's legs gave out. The last thing she saw before darkness took her was Jihoon lunging forward to catch her, his face twisted in something that looked almost like panic. Cynthia woke to the smell of jasmine tea and the feeling of silk sheets against her skin. For one blissful second, she thought it had all been a nightmare. Then she opened her eyes and saw Jihoon sitting in the chair beside her bed, elbows on his knees, watching her with an intensity that made her breath catch. "How long was I out?" Her voice came out raspy. 4 hours. He leaned back, and she noticed the exhaustion carved into his features. Dark. Circles under his eyes, tension in his jaw. "My mother's doctor checked you. You're fine. Just shock and exhaustion." Cynthia sat up slowly, pulling the covers with her, suddenly aware she was in different clothes, soft pajamas she definitely hadn't put on herself. "Who? Minji changed you? I stayed outside the entire time." Something flickered in his eyes. "I'm not a complete monster, despite what tonight has suggested. Your brother tried to kill me." "My brother is paranoid and ruthless, but he's not wrong to be suspicious." Jihoon stood, moved to the window. Dawn had broken fully now, Seoul spread beneath them in morning light. "Your research, Cynthia, it's not just academic, is it?" Her stomach dropped. "What are you talking about?" "I had my people look deeper while you were unconscious." He turned to face her, and his expression was unreadable. "Your thesis advisor, Dr. Park Min-jun. He's the one who suggested you focus on organised crime patterns. He's the one who got you access to sealed court documents, police reports that shouldn't be available to civilians. He's also the one who suggested you attend Club Azure last night." The room tilted. No, that's not. Mira invited me. It was her birthday." "Mira invited you because Dr. Park mentioned the club to her 3 days ago, suggested it would be culturally relevant for your research." Jihoon's voice remained calm, but she could hear the anger beneath. "You've been manipulated, Cynthia. Set up. The question is whether you knew it or not." "I didn't." She threw off the covers, stood on shaking legs. "I swear to God, I had no idea. Dr. Park is my advisor. He's helped me for 2 years. Why would he?" "Because someone paid him to." Jihoon pulled out a tablet, showed her bank statements with her advisor's name. Deposits. Large ones. From shell companies that traced back to the Choi family. He's been grooming you as an asset, getting you close to information about Korean crime families, building your credibility. Then he put you in position to approach me. Cynthia's knees buckled. Jihoon caught her before she hit the floor, his arm strong around her waist. pulling her against his chest. She could feel his heartbeat, steady and controlled, while hers raced like a trapped bird. "I didn't know," she whispered against his shirt. "I swear I didn't know." "I believe you." His hand came up to cup the back of her head, fingers threading through her hair. "My mother believes you too. She's dealt with the Choi family's manipulations for 30 years. She knows their tactics." Cynthia pulled back enough to look up at him. "Your mother, who's supposed to be dead, who faked her death 15 years ago to escape an arranged marriage of her own." His thumb brushed her cheek, wiping away a tear she hadn't realised had fallen. The Choi family wanted to merge bloodlines, create an empire. She refused, so she made them think she'd been killed by the Yakuza, and she's been working in the shadows ever since, building a case to bring them all down. That's... Cynthia's brain struggled to process. That's insane. That's survival. Jihoon's other hand settled on her hip, and she realised how close they were standing, how his body heat seemed to seep into her bones, how his eyes had softened from ice to something warmer, more dangerous. "My whole life has been a chess game I never asked to play, moves and counter-moves, alliances and betrayals. And then you walked up to me and asked me to kiss you like it was the simplest thing in the world. It was stupid," Cynthia breathed. "It was honest." His forehead dropped to rest against hers, and the intimacy of it stole her breath. "Do you know how rare that is in my world? Someone who wants something simple, something real, even if it's just for show." "Jihoon!" The door burst open. They sprang apart as Minseo strode in, his mother right behind him. But it was the third person who made Cynthia's blood freeze. Dr. Park Min-jun stood between two guards, his face bruised, his expensive glasses cracked. "Tell her," Jihoon's mother commanded. "Tell her what you told us." Dr. Park's eyes found Cynthia's, and she saw genuine remorse there. "I'm sorry, Cynthia. I'm so sorry. They have my daughter. The Choi family. They kidnapped her 6 months ago. Said if I didn't help them, they'd kill her. I never meant for you to get hurt." The betrayal cut deeper than Cynthia expected. "You used me. For 2 years, you used me." "I had no choice." His voice broke. "My little girl, she's only 8. They showed me photos, videos of her crying. What would you have done? Not dragged an innocent student into a gang war." Cynthia's voice rose, fury replacing shock. "You made me a pawn. You were supposed to just gather information," Dr. Park insisted. "Document patterns, take photos of locations, but then they saw you, saw how you looked, and they changed the plan. They wanted you to get close to someone in the Kang family. I tried to stop it, tried to refuse, but they threatened your daughter more." Jihoon's mother finished coldly. "The Choi family's favourite tactic. Find the weakness, exploit it, destroy anyone who gets in the way." She turned to Cynthia. "They were going to use you to get intelligence, then kill you and frame the Kang family for it. Start a war that would weaken both families." Cynthia felt sick. "Why tell me this? Why not just let me leave?" "Because you can't leave." Minseo spoke for the first time, his expression grim. "The Choi family knows you're here. They think you're already our asset. If you walk away now, they'll kill you to tie up loose ends. If you stay, they'll try to turn you into a double agent." He paused. "Either way, you're dead unless we protect you. So I'm trapped." Cynthia looked between them all. This family of criminals and liars, who somehow seemed more honest than her own advisor had been. Trapped in a life I never wanted. In a war I don't understand. "Yes," Jihoon said simply. "Unless..." An explosion rocked the building. The windows shattered inward. Cynthia felt Jihoon tackle her to the ground, his body covering hers, as glass rained down like deadly snow. Gunfire erupted from somewhere below. Alarm screamed, "They're here!" Mr. Han's voice crackled over an intercom. "Choi family, full assault team. 20 men, maybe more. They're coming up." Jihoon rolled off Cynthia, pulled her to her feet. Blood ran down his arm from a glass cut, but he didn't seem to notice. Min Seo, get mother to the safe room, now. What about you? I'm getting her out. Jihoon grabbed Cynthia's hand. There's a private elevator, service shaft. It goes directly to the garage. They'll have men there too, Min Seo protested. Then I'll go through them. Jihoon's voice went cold, dead. The voice of the man who ran an empire built on fear. He pulled a gun from a hidden panel in the wall, checked the magazine. This is my fault. I brought her here. I protect what's mine. More explosions. Closer now. The building shook. Jihoon's mother grabbed Cynthia's face between her hands. Listen to me, girl. My son cares about you. I can see it. He hasn't cared about anything real in 10 years. Don't let him die for you. Do you understand? Don't let him be stupid. I don't. I can't. Yes, you can. The older woman's eyes were fierce. You're stronger than you think. I saw it the moment I looked at you. You have survivor's blood. She pressed something into Cynthia's hand, a small USB drive. Everything I've gathered on the Choi family, 15 years of evidence. If we don't make it, get this to the police. The real police, not the ones on their payroll. Promise me. Cynthia's fingers closed around the drive. I promise. The door exploded inward. Men in black tactical gear poured through, weapons raised. Jihoon fired, dropped two before they could aim. Min Seo threw his mother behind a flipped table, returning fire with deadly precision. Go! Jihoon shoved Cynthia toward a hidden panel in the wall. Now, Cynthia! But she couldn't move. Couldn't leave him here. This man she'd known for less than 12 hours. This criminal who'd somehow become the only solid thing in a world gone mad. Their eyes met across the chaos. I'll find you, he said. Not shouted, despite the gunfire. Just said it, with absolute certainty. Wherever you go, whatever happens, I'll find you. Then Minji was there, grabbing Cynthia's arm, dragging her through the hidden panel. The last thing she saw was Jihoon turning back to the fight, his gun raised, his body a shield protecting his family. The panel slammed shut. Minji hauled her down a narrow service corridor, concrete walls painted industrial grey. Behind them, muffled explosions, screams, the sound of a building tearing itself apart. Keep moving, Minji commanded. Don't stop. Don't think. Just move. They hit the service elevator. Minji jammed her keycard in, punched buttons with trembling fingers. The door started to close. A hand caught it. Choi Do-yeon stepped into the elevator with them, impeccably dressed despite the chaos. A gun pointed casually at Cynthia's head. Hello, Miss Okafor, he said in perfect English. We need to talk about your future, or rather, your very brief lack of one. Minji moved fast as a snake, but Do-yeon was faster. He shot her in the shoulder, and she went down hard. The elevator descended into darkness. Cynthia pressed herself against the wall, the USB drive burning in her pocket, Jihoon's promise echoing in her ears. I'll find you. Do-yeon smiled. Kang Jihoon is dead by now. My father made sure of it. That building is coming down, and everyone in it. He stepped closer, and Cynthia could smell his cologne. Expensive, cloying. You're coming with me, Miss Okafor. You're going to tell me everything you know about the Kang family's operations. And then... His finger traced her jawline, and she fought not to vomit. Then we'll decide if you're valuable enough to keep alive. The elevator hit the garage level. The doors opened to reveal a dozen armed men. Cynthia's hand closed around the USB drive in her pocket. Jihoon's promise played on repeat. I'll find you. She just had to survive long enough for him to keep it. Let us know where you are watching from. We love to connect with you. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because you do not want to miss what happens when Cynthia faces the Choi family alone. Or maybe not alone. Drop your theory in the comments. How does Cynthia survive this? Does Jihoon come for her, or is she on her own? And the real question, who actually survives that explosion? The wildest theory gets pinned. And trust me, part 2 is going to prove most of you wrong. Comment now.